Hello, and welcome back to What You Missed, the series where I point out Easter eggs and details you missed in your favorite Disney attractions. Sometimes Easter eggs are difficult to parse out. It takes a little digging and maybe some stretching to make a connection. That is not the case with Star Tours because, oh my god, there are so many. Easter eggs for Star Wars fans. Easter eggs for Disney fans. There's a little reference for any kind of fan who walks onto the attraction. We would need multiple episodes to highlight all of them. But I try not to keep you guys here for too long, so we're only going to be highlighting a few. I have a few extra caveats. I am mostly going to be highlighting Disney references, because this is a channel about Disney. I'll mention a couple of references that Star Wars fans would understand, but I care about Disney, so that's what I'll be primarily dealing with. Most of these will be pulled from the current incarnation of the ride, because those are where all of the Easter eggs are from. As usual, these will be pulled mainly from the Walt Disney World incarnation, though I think the refurbs were pretty much the same across the board, so you might be able to find them elsewhere. Okay, I've given enough context. Brace yourself for hyperspeed as we find out these secrets together. Not every Easter egg is a visual one. There are many that you have to keep your ears open for. When you first enter the attraction, in the scene with 3PO and R2, listen to all of the special announcements on the intercom. There's one that's trying to get in touch with a Mr. Mott Worm.
Engaging Star Tours passenger Mott Worm. Please pick up the nearest white courtesy complex.
Who is Mott Worm? Well, if we reverse the letters in his name, we get Tom Morrow. Tom Morrow is a name that's been associated with many different Disney attractions. He was the host of Interventions at Disneyland. He was a central figure in the original Flight to the Moon attraction at the Magic Kingdom. Nowadays, Disney fans will recognize him for a spiel on the Tomorrowland Transit Authority. He actually was referenced by name in the original version, so here it's a more indirect reference. But even in the Star Wars universe, people are always trying to get a hold of him. The baggage security center has so many different references. You can find references to WALL-E, The Incredibles, Alice in Wonderland, and so much more. But for this video, we'll be talking about two in particular. In one bag, you'll find a little round robot with square eyes and a flat head. This is Vincent from the 1979 Disney film, The Black Hole. He's a utility robot aboard the USS Palomino, helping the crew out with their duties. And he's hands down the best character in the movie. It's nice to see that, even though the black hole was considered a disappointment at the time, that it's still getting referenced all these years later. Also, he gets cleared for boarding, don't worry. In one bag, the droid finds a stormtrooper helmet. It belongs to TK-421. If you know your Star Wars lore, you'll recognize the reference, but for those who don't, this stormtrooper was stationed on the Death Star in A New Hope. He's killed by Han, and his uniform gets used by Luke, so they can sneak in to save Princess Leia. Given that the current version of Star Tours takes place before New Hope, we can safely assume that this was while he was still alive. While you're waiting in the queue, look for this window. You can see a bunch of silhouettes of different people walking around. If you catch it at the right time, you might be able to spot this. Yes, that is Jar Jar Binks frozen in carbonite. Which, when you think about it, doesn't make much sense because you can see him in the ride when you end up on Naboo, but whatever. I've never minded him personally, but if you really despise Jar Jar, you can derive a little bit of pleasure out of him getting the fate that he deserves. Just pray to the Maker that the Sith Lord theories aren't accurate and he won't be coming for you later. Right before boarding, you pass by this security droid, who tells us to move along so he can do his job. He's played by Patrick Warburton. His voice is pitched up, but it's him. Most will recognize him as Kronk from The Emperor's New Groove, or Joe from Family Guy, but Disney park fans will know him as the chief flight attendant on Soarin'. And in his dialogue, there are a couple of references to his famous spiel.
When the doors to your flight open, please take a seat and store all carry-on items in the underseat compartment.
Keep in mind that all carry-ons must fit in the overhead compartment. I've just been informed that there are no overhead compartments, but carry on.
He supposedly says, "Nice work, pal," but I couldn't find a clip of it, so there that is. The flight that we embark on is Flight 1401. As we've discussed in previous episodes, take note of any time you see a bunch of random numbers strung together. It's probably a reference to someone or something. This is no exception. 1401 is a reference to an address. 1401 Flower Street in Glendale, California. It's where Walt Disney Imagineering is located. This one is really easy to miss, so make sure to keep your eyes open for it. If your vehicle ends up on the Death Star, wait for 3PO to begin exiting it. Then, look to the left. That's the mighty microscope from the defunct Disneyland attraction, Adventure Through Inner Space. In this ride, the vehicles rode through the microscope to discover the wonders of the molecular world, shrinking to the size of a snowflake. It was the first omnivore attraction at the Disney parks. What's in the show building where it once stood? Star Tours. Continuing to show that nothing is ever forgotten by Disney Imagineering. Did you know that Star Tours actually influenced things in the movies? The original version of the attraction featured a scene where your ride vehicle traveled through a comet, dodging crystallized spikes. This would go on to inspire a scene from The Last Jedi, where the Falcon flies through a cavern on the planet Crate, which then of course was added into Star Tours in 2017. If people weren't convinced that Star Tours was a worthy part of the Star Wars universe before, I sure hope they do now that it's inspiring the actual film series. This secret no longer exists. It was removed from the attraction some time ago, but still worth pointing out. On your way to the exit at Tokyo Disneyland, you pass by an alien known as... I'm just gonna call him Z. Does he look familiar? What if I added this to him? Yes, his head sculpt was borrowed from Sunny Eclipse, Cosmic Ray's house musician at the Magic Kingdom. Word of God tells us that they're cousins, which means Sunny Eclipse exists in the Star Wars universe. This is canon. No amount of arguing is gonna change my mind. If we can have Dexter Jetster in his 50s diner in the Star Wars universe, we can have Sunny Eclipse. And those were just a few things you might have missed on Star Tours. But I know for certain it isn't all of them. So if you'd like to see this attraction revisited in a future episode, or if you have another attraction that you'd like to see covered next, let me know by leaving a comment down below. But that's all the time I've got for today. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.